back to Food Prep Guide. Today I want to share with you things that I have gathered over the years to help me be able to prepare food and preserve food without the need for electricity. Now, of course, we are trying to prepare for a scenario where we don't have electricity, but also we just live in an area that tends to lose electricity pretty easily with storms, and we tend to lose electricity at least once or twice during the winter. So we have already used all of these things, and actually I have worked them into my regular food prep routine so that I'm already used to using them. It's just second nature to me, and I just wanted to share those with y'all today in case you need to be able to prepare for being able to prepare or preserve food without electricity. So let's get started.
By the way, if you would like help building your food storage, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for our free 1-year food storage plan. We calculated a year's supply of food for one person, then broke that data down into a week-by-week list of items to build your pantry on a budget. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss all of our upcoming food preservation, pantry storage, and gardening tutorials. Now back to the kitchen.
Number one is a string pull chopper. So I bought this primarily for nuts for our granola and for mincing up garlic and for chopping up onions and peppers and stuff like that for things like sauces, pico de gallo, just toppings for our tacos and things like that, where I don't have to haul out my big food processor, but also to have a quick way to do it that is still not just with a knife, it's still quicker than that, but still not needing electricity. So this is just works with just pulling a string, and for demonstration I just wanted to show you some cashews. We like cashews and almonds inside of our granola. So I'm just going to do just a few cashews here, lock the lid, and this is going to be kind of loud, so check and see periodically if it's chopped the way I want it. I want it a little bit more than that. Okay, that's about good. I'm gonna find a bowl to pour this into so you can see it. Well, you can probably see it just through here. See how it's nice and chopped? So you can just continue to pull that string ever how many times you need to get the type of chopped size that you want. If you want it smaller, keep on going. If you want it larger, stop sooner. But that's just a way to be able to quickly chop things quicker than a knife, but also without needing electricity. I'm just going to set this aside over here real quick. Okay, device or gadget number two, I guess you would say, is my brake bleeder pump. This thing is a game changer in my kitchen. I use dehydrated foods all the time, and before I got into canning, that was the only form of food preservation I did, so I had built up a large amount of dehydrated foods, and they store longest in a vacuum seal type environment. But I very quickly got very tired of looking at my vacuum sealer machine for just sealing up jars after I would use them. So for instance, this one's open. I used it last night and I didn't seal it back because I knew I was going to be doing this video today. So I just wanted to show you how to use this brake bleeder pump. If you haven't seen me use it before, I need my attachment. Where did it go? Here it is. So to use this brake bleeder pump, I mean, this is literally what mechanics use for working on brakes and stuff. And then this is just a attachment that goes on top of mason jars. They have a wide mouth and a regular mouth sides. This is the Food Saver brands attachment. They do have off brands, but I will link the Food Saver attachment down in the description box below. But you just place that over your jar, whatever size jar you have. And then this little tip right here goes into the hole of this attachment right here. And then you just pump until the needle stops. So when you start pumping, this needle is going to start moving. And when you're continuing to pump, but it's not moving much anymore, then you're done. And typically for me, that happens between the 15 and 20 mark. But you just want to go until the needle doesn't move anymore. We're at 10. Okay, it's not moving anymore. It's getting really hard to do. So it's gonna be done. And I will reseal this later, but just to prove to you that it really does do a very good vacuum seal, I'm gonna open it, and you heard that, very good vacuum seal. So I will reseal this off camera later. But brake bleeder pump is one of my absolute favorite off-grid type tools. Item number 3 again has to do with chopping and slicing and dicing foods, and that is a manual rotary food processor. So the one that I showed you before is fantastic for rough chops, and it's, as you can see, it's kind of small. If you have a very large volume of food to process, so this is a workhorse during canning season. This is, and dehydrating whenever I dehydrate. This is how I do all of my shreds and slices, is with this little thing right here. So sometimes, so this lever produces a suction, and sometimes it will slip off the counter. So to remedy that, I just put a little bit of water underneath. I just get my hand, I'm just going to put a little bit of water on the counter right here, press that suction down, and then it doesn't move anymore. So that water really helps. And you just place a bowl under here. I have a potato just to show you how this thing works. This is like a guard for your fingers to make sure that your fingers don't come in contact with this. This is the #1 reason why I went with this style processor. I know that mandolins are very popular. They scare me. Potato peelers, they scare me. I don't like getting my fingers that close to that sharp of a blade. And just the mandolin, the action of going back and forth that close to the blade, it wasn't an option for me. And so I was researching particularly for some type of processor that I don't have to get my fingers anywhere near it, and this one was it, because this little cup right here is interchangeable, and I can stick my fingers inside the cup, and because there is no blade on the inside, it's completely smooth on the inside. And these cups, there are 5 of them, 5 different types of style cuts, and they just click right onto the rotary here. And then to protect my fingers, once I get down to the very end of the potato, I can just push that down with the blade right here, or not the blade, but this little stopper thing right here, and protect my fingers. So let me show you how to do this potato real quick. Getting down to the bottom, so I'm going to switch to this. And my fingers don't have to be anywhere near that blade. And here is shredded potato that fast. So this is one of my absolute favorite tools for prepping food for preservation, specifically canning and dehydrating. Item number 4 is actually what you see here behind me, and this is a thermal cooker. I have it out because I'm actually cooking supper in it as we speak, or as you watch. This is something that I prepped just about an hour ago, and I call this my off-grid slow cooker, or off-grid crock pot. That's exactly what it is. It is a way to slow cook your food with no electricity. It became popular, from what I understand, in World War I, when they were trying to conserve power, and they would actually use, they call them hay boxes, because they would literally have hay just inside of a big crate, and they would use that hay as an insulator. When they were able to boil their food for just a very short amount of time, conserve that energy, and then transfer that boiling food into their hay box, and it would continue to residually cook and slow cook throughout the day, and that's how they conserved energy. But I'm sure people used it way before World War I. I think that's just kind of when they became popular, and the hay box idea came to a larger crowd, I guess you could say. And now we have these modern day thermal cookers where it's just like a really big oversized thermos. Basically, this is a Stanley Camp Crock. It is a 3-quart, and that is the perfect size for my family, because you want a crock that is around the size of a full-sized meal for your amount of family, so that the amount of food can fill 2/3 to 3/4 of the way. And that will just make sure that it has enough mass in there to continue the heat and continue to reach those temperatures. We have a complete video on how to use the thermal cooker, and I will give you a demonstration of using it at a meal, which is actually the meal that is in here at the moment. And I will put that video on screen at the very end of this one. So for now, I'm just going to set this aside. Love that thing. And talk about the last and final item, and that is a very heavy bottomed stock pot for canning. If you have, you hear that low, a lot of the stock pots in item stores today, especially Walmart, they're really thin stainless steel, and they're just not very ideal for canning in. But if you can find a really heavy bottomed stock pot, then you can can over an open fire or over a propane tank, propane burner, so that you can preserve your food even if you don't have electricity. And that's going to be important, I think, in the coming days with just the energy crisis that even our country and even all over the world, I think, is experiencing. And even if, let's say, nothing happens with the energy crisis, everything goes back to normal, like I said, we experience power outages somewhat frequently when you compare it to people who like live in a city. And I just want the ability to be able to can my food and not be dependent on the grid in order to do so. It would be, a lot of my gardening efforts would be for nothing, because there's no way we can eat all of the food that's produced in the garden before it goes bad. Preservation is absolutely critical to making that garden produce be usable throughout the year, and canning and dehydrating is how we do it. And I don't want to depend on the grid to do that. I didn't, when I was mentioning a dehydrator, and I thought, what about an off-grid dehydrator? And I didn't list that on here because it's not something that I use on a regular basis. Like all of the items that I just showed you, I use them on a regular basis. I mean, I am in and out of them on a weekly basis almost. But my off-grid dehydrator, I'm not, because I just have my Excalibur dehydrator and use that. But you can absolutely air dry, and that is just dehydrating food outside. One way, excellent way to do that is to put a piece of glass over like a wooden box and put your food in that wooden box. You want to have some airflow. So you want to have, if you have like a picture chicken wire or a rabbit wire, some kind of mesh that is a very small hole so that your food doesn't fall through, or you can double up the wire so that to create smaller holes so your food doesn't fall through. And you're having your food placed on that mesh bottom, and then you're putting a window, or like we have a piece of glass that is about 5 foot by 2 foot wide that used to be on a like a side table, or what are those called? What are those called? I don't know. The things you put in your living room to like to set drinks on or play card games on or something like that. I can't remember what the name is at the moment. But we have a piece of glass that used to be on top of one of those, and that's perfect. But an old window would work too, and it's just to concentrate the heat of the sun onto the food, and you can dehydrate food that way as well, and it will just take you longer. You can expect to go 24 to 48 hours for most fruits and vegetables with an air, if you're going to be air drying. Okay, y'all, I hope that was helpful to y'all. 5 items that I use and love for off-grid food prep and preservation. Hope that was helpful, and be sure to check out that video of thermal cooking if you're interested. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.